Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I am doing great. Had a great holiday weekend. Glad to be back. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yes. Just moved into my new place, enjoying everything in life, and I'm glad that June is here. Yes.
Yes, that's Team Gemini, my birthday month. Yay!
Oh, awesome. So the show is live, of course, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, which is amazing. Yes. And of course, just to reiterate, we are a nonprofit. And our goal is to help bring more information and education about intimacy into the world. Yes. And you know, Coach K, June is a month of summer, of enjoying. And it's also, really the month that we honor men.
Yes, Men's Health Month, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then also there's, of course, the great thing of Father's Day.
Oh, duh. Yeah, Father's Day. I love my husband. I hope he's not watching this.
Yes, yeah. And the great thing that we're starting off this month is we are talking about why men struggle to love.
Yeah, I know I say I'm excited about a lot of shows, but I really am over the moon excited about this show because of the topic.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And so I'm so excited about that. But before we go into the topic, I just want to let everyone know our charity of the month is Valerie House, and they help young people and kids deal with the grief of parents and families. So if you're interested, if you want to figure out more, check out Valerie House at www.valeriehouse.org. But what we're going to really get into, because we have an expert who knows about men, who knows about how men think, work, and play. Yes, and when I come back, I'm going to highlight and bring Dr. Eddie Cappuccini on so he can talk and inform us on why men struggle to love. We'll be back in a moment.
Sex should not be the elephant in the room. The fourth ebook of the Improving Intimacy book series from Bringing Intimacy Back, It's All About Sex, helps you navigate every which way you can tend to your sex life. Pulling out all the stops, dive into the sensual read about sex toys, silky linens, and date nights. Improving Intimacy, It's All About Sex is available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, and more.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Dr. Eddie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Dr. April, and hello, Coach K. Good to be here.
Yes. So, Dr. Eddie Cappuccini, did I say it correctly? Just want to make
Close.
sure.
You're close. He's Capparucci.
Capparucci. Okay, awesome. But let me introduce him to you. He is a licensed professional counselor who's certified in treating problematic sexual behaviors. And he is the creator of Inner Child Model for treatment of sexual and pornography addiction, which is great because many times when we're working with individuals, a lot of it has to do with that inner child work. Yes, but he is known all over the world because he works with professional athletes that are from the NFL, the NBA, or the MLB, basketball players. He's also the clinical director of National Decency Coalition, which is an organization that's run with state governments to help people in the sense of limited the access of pornography to minors. He's also the administrator of the websites of www.menagainstporn.org and www.sexuallypoormen.com. He's also written for Covenant Eyes, which is great, Kingdom Works, and XXX, which I guess is Triple X Church. So one of the great things about him is that he has some books out there, and he is the author of Going Deep, How the Inner Child Impacts Your Sexual Addiction and Removing Your Shame Label, and Learning to Break Free of Shame and Feel God's Love. And his new book, which is what we are going to dig deep into, is Why Men Struggle to Love, Overcoming Relational Blind Spots. So, wow, that is such a mouthful.
It certainly is. But thank you for that intro. I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. So one of the things we really like to ask our guests is, first, this show's about intimacy. And how do you define intimacy?
I define intimacy as a foundation, first and foremost, where people can learn how to engage and connect emotionally, being able to be vulnerable with one another, being able to share, intimate, details about themselves. And then, again, if we're talking about intimacy between two people, who are perhaps married or whatever, we're talking about then being able to bring that physical aspect in to reinforce the physical intimacy. And something we'll talk about today when we talk about men who struggle to love is they have that backwards. They build their foundation for a relationship on physical intimacy, and will sprinkle in the emotional intimacy. I'm involved.
Yes. How did you get involved in this kind of work in the beginning?
Wow, that's a long story. It'll take us 2 hours to talk about.
Okay.
But basically, it's I had my own issues. I am an emotionally undeveloped man, or I was. I also struggled with a sex addiction, being a womanizer for many years until I got help when I was about 40. And then after that, I really worked on my faith. And in my faith, God called me to step away from corporate America and move into the counseling world. And through that, I started seeing men come into the office. I was like, oh my God, these guys are like me. They're struggling with the same issues I struggled with. And that's what I realized I've been called to focus in this area. And what I found is that people who deal with sex porn addictions also, many of them also have a low emotional IQ. And so that's where we go into this whole idea of it not being sober is not enough.
Mhm.
Men also have to work on that part of becoming emotionally developed.
Yeah. One of the things as a therapist that I work with clients and with couples, I say to the men, how you guys get so excited about tits and boobs and all that kind of stuff. Women get so excited about emotion. That's what turns us on. So you coined and you just said emotionally undeveloped men. What is that? Can you
What that
explain?
is,
Like,
what that is that is an individual again who has a very low emotional IQ. He can have a very difficult time being able to identify what he truly feels. He'll tell you if he's angry, if he's sad, if he's happy, if he's afraid, but he can't drill down to tell you what he's truly experiencing. And even those men who could do that, they're going to have a very difficult time expressing it because vulnerability is a dirty word. Okay,
Yeah.
because there's the fear, right? There's a fear that I'm going to look weak, or it's going to come back and bite me with that. And but then worse is that we have a very difficult time if someone trying to be emotionally engaging with us. So therefore, that increases our anxiety. Then what do we do? Well, we may try to fix it. That's the running joke of men fixing women's problem. It's not because we're trying to show you how smart we are. It's we're trying to make the problem go away. We
Yeah.
want the emotion to go away. That's basically it. So it's either we're going to try to fix it or we're going to minimize it. It's not a big deal. I don't know what you're worried about. Just get over it. Let's move on. Or finally, what we may do is just withdraw. I just don't have the time. I can't deal with it. So it's all of those things that make up a person who is going to struggle to have a very healthy relationship with someone.
And then that, I guess that withdrawal just creates a whole new slew and realm of problems, because I'm guessing, like, as women, we don't always recognize that men can't fully express themselves. So is that when they would reach out to get help, or how would someone know?
Well, it's interesting what you bring up there, Kay, because men don't recognize that they cannot express themselves. The one word that I use so often in the book is oblivious. We're just completely oblivious to the fact that we have a problem. And what we'll say is, this is just me.
Mm,
I'm the strong,
Right.
silent type. Okay.
yeah.
Or I don't know what to say.
Right.
And the problem with that is, again, not getting that training that we needed when we were younger, so that we could be that way. But yeah, we suffer the same issue that women would have, in the fact that they're looking at us, and until finally it'll dawn on you, and you'll say, "Oh, wait a second, he's not giving. He's not really fully here." And once that happens, now you've opened up, the Pandora's box. Women are looking to say, "I need change," and the guy's saying, "I have no idea what to change, but I don't know. I didn't think we had a problem."
Mhm.
And so that, like, that emotional, and forgive me, Dr. April, because now my mind is like going all kinds of
That's
directions. With that emotional underdevelopment, you know, do you feel like it's something that's generational, passed down? Because if someone can't teach you, then you just follow what you lead, and then, or, how's that developing? Can it be changed?
That you hit the nail on the head. That's what happens. It is generational. The reason what's happening, and what should happen in the early stages of childhood development, our caretakers are supposed to be teaching us the things that we need, that we can learn to emotionally bond and connect with people. Things such as trust. Okay. How do I learn trust as a young child? Well, I wander off, and I try to explore, but I know if I turn around, my parent's still there, my caregiver's still there. So I have this sense of trust. They're supposed to teach us how to emotionally regulate. Okay, how to, because think about a child, right? A child doesn't know what emotions are. So
right.
they're getting flooded with all of these different experiences, all of these stimuli, and then a parent's supposed to be kind of walking them through, because all you see from a kid is the fact that they're angry or frustrated. So if you get angry or frustration, okay, what are you frustrated about? Well, because I want to go. I want to go to that thing. Okay, what you are is disappointed. You
Mhm.
got to put words to it, and if parents don't do that, we can't. They're supposed to teach us how to attune to other people. I
Hmm.
could kind of pick up, I could start to read people. Okay. But one of the most important things they're supposed to teach us, and this is why there's a connection between those who are men who are emotionally undeveloped and addictions, if they don't teach us how to sit with and process emotional discomfort.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Those meta emotions, they don't know how to deal with it. And so they avoid it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, think about it. Okay. I'm a child,
Right.
and I'm struggling with a problem.
Right.
Okay. And nobody taught me how to do this. So I have to come up with a solution. What's the solution to deal with? I don't want to sit with the pain. Well, a child not having a lot of worldly experiences and being more emotionally based in their thinking than cognitively based comes up with one solution. And it's a great one for a kid. I won't think about it.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
right? I won't think about it. Well,
Right.
how did he not think about it? He has to distract himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Too much television, too much food, too many video games,
Hmm.
and too much in my own head, daydreaming, fantasizing, staying there. Take that same kid, now make him a teenager, and now make him an adult, and you got the same thing. And what he's done, if you go to the same MO for dealing with this, whatever the problem is, I don't want to think about it. I'm going to run to whatever that thing is that distracts me, that brings me a sense of soothing and calm. And now, if you do that enough, you wind up having addictive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I do also think that men get sometimes frustrated and they even break things. You know what I'm saying? That anger comes out. I don't know how to
Oh,
take my emotion. So,
that's right. They do the same thing. We do the same thing we did when we were a child.
right.
Okay, it's the same
They
thing.
throw,
They're having tantrums and being frustrated because I don't know how to do it. My wife has a favorite word to stop manhandling it. Okay, whenever I go to do something and I'm like, she goes, stop manhandling it. And it's like, well, these are the only hands I have. I don't know what else you want me to do with it. But that's exactly what happened. We revert back to that frustrated child. And there's not that voice to help us, to calm us down, and to give us the direction and guidance that we really need.
hmm Yeah, and so you mentioned porn. Um, how does porn impact relationships or specifically a person's?
Oh, well, now we have another show that we can talk about.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Pornography has a negative effect on individuals, relationships, and society. It has a negative relationship on individuals because what it does, it teaches, especially men, it teaches us to objectify.
hmm
That's what we learn. And that's why now, with all of this easy access to pornography, for these
Right.
past several generations, kids as young as 8 to 10 looking at this stuff, what are
Yeah.
we doing? We're teaching a whole generation of little boys it's okay to objectify little girls.
Right.
But even worse than that, because you have little girls looking at pornography also, you're teaching little girls it's okay to be objectified.
Yeah.
hmm
That is going to create, and it already has, a world of hurt for a lot of people as they move through life. So, one, it teaches about objectification. Two, it isolates people. They wind
Right.
up, and as they start to become addicted to it, that's where they want to go. So they wind up affecting their school. It affects their work. It affects their social life because I need to be here doing this
hmm
right now. Okay. In relationships, it hurt because many women look at that and say, "Why are you looking? Why do you need pornography?
Yeah.
Am
Right.
I not good enough?
Right.
What's wrong with me that you don't want me?" And men will tell you, "Oh, that's not it. I've done this my whole life and it's not a big deal." It is a big deal because what you're doing is you're affecting her self-worth. And that's just one. Men who also look at pornography and are involved with chronic masturbation wind up
hmm
having erectile dysfunction
Right.
and other performance issues, and such as retarded ejaculation. And we're seeing guys who are as young as 19, 20, who are now popping Viagra on a
hmm
daily
I've seen
basis
that. Yeah.
because they can't get an erection. Why?
Right.
Because of the chronic masturbation, and they don't know what it's like to even engage with a woman. And I'll give you one last point. Men are also learning how to love and how to have sex through porn. The
Right.
trend in pornography over the last decade has been toward more violence and more
Yes.
humiliation toward women. Okay.
hmm
In fact, I heard a horror story just a few weeks ago. It was a young couple. They started dating. They're both 17. After about 6 months, they decided to become sexual. They're having their first sexual encounter. Both of them. He was a heavy porn user. Midway through the encounter, he starts choking her. And she's
mm
like this, and she throws him off. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And
Right.
he goes, "What? You don't like that?"
Mm.
And she goes, "No, I don't like it." You go, "Well, everything I see, women all love it. They want more and more of it." That's where they're learning this
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right. And
those are just some of the things that why porn is an issue
right.
and
And they
something that needs to be addressed.
right. A lot of the porn, of course, is fake. Well, I guess all of it's fake. Yes, and people are acting, and so when these young people or older people are watching that, these are people that are just acting. And then also with porn, it goes so fast that when guys are with their significant other, they try this fast thing and it doesn't work.
No.
Hmm.
Right.
And that,
Or you know what they also do? They try to pressure women into doing what they've seen.
right.
And there's a lot of women, they don't want to do that. They don't want to be pushed into that. However, they're like, well, you know what? If I don't go along with it, he's probably going to go somewhere else and find it. And that's horrible. I actually had a client at one point where he talked her into doing a threesome with another guy. And she didn't want to do it. She did it. And she had this great remorse afterward and felt awful about herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did he want to do? He goes, oh, let's do it with other guys too.
Right.
And she was like, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this. And they sought help. But he looked at it and said, there's nothing wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
Right.
looking at it and saying, yes, there's something very, very wrong. But there's nothing intimate about this.
Right. Like his porn does not put in that emotional piece.
No, it does not put in the emotional piece. And that's why, again, we're teaching that to a whole generation. And that's why I said earlier, most men who are emotionally undeveloped and have an addiction, they will create their relationship based on physical intimacy. I never feel more loved than when someone is physical with me. And let me show you how much I love you by how physical I can be with you and how I can make you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no or very little in the way of emotional intimacy. And so therefore you have a very, very shaky relationship.
Right. And I wonder if, like Coach K asks, if you can actually teach that emotional intimacy. How does that, how do you go about teaching that?
Well, if you go back into my book of Why Men Struggle to Love, what I did was I identified 14 different blind spots. Okay,
Right.
these are the different things that men, the reason why they struggle. Like for example, the one that I talked about, they avoid emotional pain. They lack curiosity. They're hypersensitive. I bet you probably never met a guy who is hypersensitive to criticism or rejection or something like
Right.
that. They struggle to connect. They have a low emotional IQ. They have mood disorders. They lack contentment. That's just a few of them. There's 14. And so what you do is as you go through and you identify what are my weaknesses. And most men who are undeveloped are probably between 8 and 10 that they have to work on. And then the book, what I have are antidotes for each one. So for example, emotionally connecting. Let's say you needed to work on emotional connection. First thing you do is one, understand that emotions are inaccurate. Now you probably wonder, wait a second, why do I want to focus on that? Well, because if you're running based on emotions that are not accurate, you're
Mm-hmm.
making a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could slow down and be able to process through those and then move over, okay, so what's real? What's
Right.
really happening? Then what you could do is you could focus on what the true emotions are that you're feeling. The other thing is to develop empathy. How do we do this? We teach men to be curious,
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, probe, be attentive when you listen to see if you could hear what are the emotions that are coming at you. And then also, what is it when somebody talking about what they're feeling, can you go back and try to recall a time that you may have felt that way?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that helped to put you in that mood. And then finally, if we're well, not finally, but one of the last things, if we're looking to teach how to emotionally connect, it's the idea of getting over the fear of being vulnerable.
Right.
We have to say, hold on to the fear, not to be. We're not saying don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be afraid, but don't tell men that. But hold on to the fear, right, and move forward with it and be vulnerable. Put yourself out there with that, and then when you watch and you see what comes back, it's going to be, oh my gosh, that just makes me feel incredible. And therefore, the next time it'll be easier. Because remember, everything we're talking about with these 14 blind spots, that people who grew up in very secure environments and relationships,
Mm-hmm.
that's all natural to them.
Right.
But to guys who are emotionally undeveloped, none of this is natural. I mean, we're in a foreign country trying to figure
Right.
out what people are saying to us.
Yeah. And sometimes I think women don't even know that men sometimes are somewhat clueless. I was in a session recently, and I've been with this couple for a while. And the last session, she had asked a question about her kid because her kid was just out of control. And someone, it was taking a lot of her energy. But then the next session, she said to me, and her husband is there, my husband got really upset because I brought the kid information into this therapy of sex therapy, you know? And she was very overwhelmed with the kid. And I don't understand why we had to talk about this kid. It's his kid too. It's
Right.
his 2-year-old too. When I just want to talk about sex.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. And I had to help him understand how her lack of energy is what's impacting stuff in the bedroom, that this
Right.
is all tied together. But,
Yeah.
you know, he was like, and he was really curious. He really couldn't understand that.
No,
Why are we
yeah.
talking about kid? He could
Yeah.
not understand that at all. He was like clueless.
Remember the word I said? Oblivious. You're oblivious. So I mean, you think about it. You're connecting dots. You're
Right.
trying to connect dots. Well, if you got guys to try to connect more than 2 dots, you're going to have a challenge. Okay, it's going to be challenging. But the thing is, yes, what does that have to do with the fact that we're not having sex?
Right.
And we bring
Exactly.
our child into the equation. That is a man who is inwardly focused.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, he's inwardly focused. He's got a single-minded. This is what we're here for. This is what we should be talking about. And that's one of the 14 blind spots. You need to become outwardly focused because he's not seeing her pain point.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He doesn't see her pain point. All he's thinking about is his pain point. Hey, we're not having sex. I'm upset.
Right.
And that's part of what we try to do. Because you know what the bottom line is, lady? What we're really talking about? We're talking about emotional immaturity.
Yeah.
These are men who are emotionally immature.
Mm.
Now, they could be mature in a lot of other ways. They could be great providers and they go to work and they're dependable and many things. But when it comes to relationships, they are way behind the 8 ball.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit more about your book, because your book, as I'm thinking about it, even with this guy here, he's got 2 little boys. Yeah, your book and what you research can help generations, because if they could start working on themselves and teaching children.
Right. You know, it's interesting because as I work with men, it is to help them so that they become more emotionally developed. But everyone, just like when they go and they read my inner child book, you know,
Yes.
as they look at this, they say, oh my gosh, I'm screwing up my kids. I can't believe what a mess I'm making. I got to start putting this stuff, you know, in place in my own home. So see, they're already starting to break that cycle. And
Mhm.
even if your kids were a little bit older, let's say they're in their teens, you could still work on it. You can go back and you can explain, you know, there's things I didn't do right, but I've learned so much more about this now. And I have a lot of things I'd like to talk to you about and maybe teach you. So yes, that's what the goal is, that we're creating a new generation of men, healthy men, emotional men.
Yeah. Wow. So the book, because you have 2 books, correct? One is just
I have 3, but there's 2
Okay.
that deal with this area.
Okay. So the one that's focused on the inner child also can be read by females
Oh,
to help.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That book is going deeper, how the inner child impacts sexual addiction. But that is so helpful for a woman who's been betrayed. For
Mm-hmm.
her to start to understand, oh my gosh, I'm not just married to a pervert. He's a broken man.
Yeah.
Right.
He got look at the issues that he went through as a child that are still haunting him again today. He just doesn't know he's being haunted by them. So
Right.
again, what we're doing is we're opening up eyes for people. So yes, for women, actually right now it looks like the trend that we're seeing some from very raw data, because both books have done very, very well, is that Going Deeper is still very heavily read by men. But the new book, Why Men Struggle to Love, we're seeing more women buying that book than we're seeing men buying, which I kind of thought might be the case to begin with. But sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes a woman to go, "You need to read this. You need
Right.
to read this, or I'm going to hit you in the head with it." So, but that it's good to see that. It's good to see. Plus, also they look at that too and say, "Oh my gosh, that means there's hope for him."
Mhm.
Right.
We go to dinner and he just sits there and he's on his iPhone or he doesn't talk. It's like, no, there's a chance that he can start to learn to emotionally connect.
Right. I do think when they realize that the person is not a pervert, that this is a weakness or a sickness or something that he struggles with, the woman has more compassion and she's not, like, I'm out of here and I want him
Yes,
to. So
yes,
definitely.
right. I mean, it was even the case with me, from the age of 16, being a womanizer till I was almost 40 and not knowing what was wrong, just thinking this is the way I am. But then going and get help and to find out, oh, guess what? I have an avoidant attachment disorder. So
Hmm.
therefore, I have one foot in and I have one foot out of every relationship. And I'm like, I couldn't figure this out 20 something years ago. I had to go
Yeah.
through all of this. I had to put other people through it. But if I would have known that, if I would have had that insight, how different things could have been.
Right.
That's what I mean. It's all about insight as far as I'm concerned, whether it's dealing with your pornography addiction, your sex addiction, or it's dealing with this issue. For me, the burning question is why? Why do I think, feel, and act the way I do? Because the more I have that information, the more empowered I am. Because ever since that happened, the year after I met my current wife, 25 years we've been together, and I've been
Right.
faithful the entire time. I shouldn't have to brag about that, right? That should be a gimme.
That's
But
awesome, though.
Yes.
but that's what it is. And why? Because I was empowered. I had information and I was understanding what was involved in all of that.
Yeah. So if a man is out there and he's like, "Ah, I don't know if I really have a problem,"
I tell him
what is
talk to his wife. I say talk to your wife first and see if she agreed with you, um, or even talk to others too about it.
right?
But don't just if
But
you
it's
you
gonna
want
make me
if you
feel weak. What if it starts? It's gonna make me feel weak at it. You don't go around
oh
people.
absolutely, you know what, again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that's a legitimate fear.
Right.
Legitimate fear. And you know what? And I've felt it too. Many other men who've gone through this have felt that. What I'm going to tell you is hold on to that fear and take baby steps forward. Just baby steps. We're not trying to take you so that you wear your emotions on your sleeve.
Right. Because I don't want to
That
be
no,
sitting in the corner and crying. Like
no,
a
right.
baby.
That is not, we're not looking to feminize men. That's not what this is about. All we're doing is saying, wake up and see that you are missing out on life.
Yeah.
Mm.
You think you're living, you're not. You're existing. And by having some emotions that you can tap into, by allowing others to be able to express and you can share those, you're going to find that it is a totally different world out there that is just, it is filled with abundance. And right now, your world is very limited. So have the courage and take the step forward.
Wow. Yes. I love how you just put that at the end. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Your books may be a very good Father's Day present for somebody who
That's
may be listening.
There you go. I think
And
it
I
would
would
be.
say read them together. Don't just hand it over, because if the man doesn't understand that he even has an issue, just, hey, let's read this together. I think me being able to learn about you while you're learning about you would be amazing.
It's, again, you bring up a great point. And in my practice, and what I've heard from people throughout the country who have been doing this, or actually around the world, is they're doing just that. they are reading the book together.
Okay.
And the men, because men are rather afraid, they're intimidated by this.
Right.
They're intimidated by it. And so therefore, now that their wife is involved or their partner is involved, now it's like, oh, okay, I feel more comfortable, more relaxed with it.
Wow. So if people are out there listening and they want to get in contact with you,
They can reach out to me at my email, edcappa@gmail.com. That's edcappa@gmail.com. They can go to my website, which I know you've been scrolling along the bottom of the screen, and they can find out more about that. They find out more about the at jugglingmen.org. They'll find out more about why men struggle to love, and at the inner child sex addiction, they'll learn more about my inner child model.
awesome. Yes. Yeah. And because I get this question, because it's good to have a strong faith, because that's, that helps lead you. But I know that there may be people out there that say, I don't want to be, I don't know, the Bible thrown at me.
Oh, well, you mean with me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm a Christian counselor. However, I respect people and where they are in life. About 80% of what I do is actually clinical in nature. I take Christianity and I sprinkle it in for people. Exactly. The only thing I tell folks is that, look, I can't tell you that the word Jesus Christ are not going to come out of my lips. Right. I just can't tell you that. Okay. So, and I've never had anyone, I mean this, in 12 years, I've never had anyone say, well, I can't do that.
Good. Awesome.
Because again, they know they're walking in, they know I'm a Christian counselor. Even then, I've worked with atheists, I work with agnostics, I work with Muslims, I can go across the board. And again, I respect where they are, and I'm not going to preach, but every once in a while, I feel compelled to throw something out there. Not that I'm trying to convert you, but I'm trying to support one of my clinical facts with a teaching that I think matches up.
Right. And like you said, you're wanting to help men actually live, because they're not living or truly experiencing.
That's right. Yeah, there's a difference between me and what's a biblical counselor. A biblical counselor is going to pray with someone. Right. They're going to read scripture. They're going to be doing that. That's not my approach.
Right. You actually bring in a lot of specific tools and techniques and that.
Yeah, you can see behind me. There are a lot of tools over the years.
So I'm assuming you also do online services?
I do strictly online right now. I do everything virtually. Especially now with this new law that's taking effect where you can cross over into other states. I also have my coaching certification, so I could always put that out there for that. So I work with men throughout the country, and I've had many throughout the world who reach out to me. But because of the time difference, what I do is I've trained a lot of people in the inner child model. I've trained clinicians about why men struggle to love. So I have a network, a very strong network, where I can send out referrals to people.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And one last question from an audience member, Alice. She asks, she loves everything that she hears. How can she get her husband to actually want to read the book with her? What could she say?
I think what you do is you tell them that, you know what, this is important to me. Talk about your emotions. This is important to me. I want it to get closer. Don't be pointing a finger and say, you got a problem, you need to work on this, and let's do it. Instead, talk about her and what she feels is missing. And say, yeah, I'm not going to leave it on your own with it. We'll sit here and we'll read it together. And then we'll sit and we'll talk about it, because I'm looking for a blank. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling, isolated. I'm feeling like we're not fully engaged. That's the way I would approach it. Not pointing a finger or saying something wrong with you. Instead, I need something. Would you please help me here?
Wow.
It's like letting him fix her issue.
Well, yeah, absolutely. In a way, that's definitely right. But the thing is, because once you start pointing a finger at somebody,
You got three
then
fingers
it's going to be,
It
you don't know what you're
changes.
talking about. I don't need this. You're the one
Yeah.
who has the problem.
Yes, yes. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome back anytime, and I will
Yes.
definitely be getting your book this week. I mean, yeah, I'm
Well,
referring.
thank you. Thank you,
Thank
ladies,
you.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Renew your connection and your love in beautiful Costa Rica. We'll make sure it happens. Vacation Counseling provides intimate couples retreats, including one-on-one counseling, yoga, and nature outings to help you and your partner rekindle the passion. Our experienced team of counselors works with one couple at a time to improve intimacy, communication, and more. Enroll now at vacationcounseling.com.
Oh, welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was wonderful.
It was. I just know that, for everybody that was able to catch it live, and I know that plenty are gonna want to catch that replay, and especially, if there are any women who feel like, hey, I feel like I'm in that boat, play the video in the distance and say, hey, that sounds familiar. I was so excited to have him on.
Yes, and I love getting more resources to help men, because men struggle, and yes, and this is coming from a man perspective who actually struggled himself, so he's been through this. Yes, so definitely check that book out, Why Men Struggle to Love.
May have to bring it to my next retreat.
Yes.
So we have some great shows that are coming up in the coming weeks as well.
Yes.
So on June 9th, we have Juan Lee with What is Love. On June 16th, we have Anna Leonarda with How to Date with Sexual Dysfunction. On June 23rd, we have Tracy Owen with Giving Voice to Female Sexual Pain. And then on June the 30th, we have Coach Lee Hopkins with Developing Intimacy with Yourself and Others. So a great lineup of shows coming to you live.
Yes. Yes, they're live here on Thursday starting at 3:30, and we are going to look forward to being with you guys next week with another live show. This has been great, Coach K. Yes, thank you so much. And yes, don't forget about a variety of couple of things that we have upcoming. Coach K, I know you have something upcoming.
I have my launch and meme party that will be welcoming my new space at Norchest happening. Our very first couples mindfulness yoga class will be on June the 7th. So all of the upcoming events that I have, and the open house is on June the 26th. So that is a free for all business professionals to come out, introduce yourselves, see the space, and just enjoy each other's company. So definitely feel free to reach out to me directly for a list of all the upcoming events that I have going on. And I see you have another couples the retreat coming up in August.
Yes. I have our intimacy retreat in Costa Rica, August 13th. Yes. So if you're as a couple and you're thinking, I want to get away, definitely come and join us in Costa Rica. If you want to stay local here in Florida, we have our couples retreat, one couple at a time, anytime here in Florida. Just give us a call. Well, we will see you guys next week. Take care and have a great week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back. We hope you enjoyed it. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com and Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Dr. April Brown's 5-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon, available in Kindle, Audible, or paperback. We'll see you next Thursday live at 3:30 p.m.